So Professor Mills is president, and John Mahama is vice president, by the way. And Mrs. Rollins feels that, no, it shouldn't be Professor Mills. No, it shouldn't be that. The MPP and the other parties will not have that problem because they'll put the ballot box down. They'll go to the ballot, they'll vote, and the one who wins. But this was not an election so-called. People believe that if the election had been allowed to go the way it should go, other things would have happened. But Mrs. Rollins lost the election, and then she leaves the party. Sometime after that, she leaves the party. She forms her own party, the National Democratic Party, the NDP. She forms the party. She chooses colors that are very similar to the colors of the NDC. And she goes to this party with another important NDC person, Josiah Aye, who is the former General Secretary of the NDC, also leaves the party and joins Mrs. Rollins in the NDP. So within the lifetime of J.J. Rollins, the NDC, as a demerit and a consequence of its monotheism, has seen three different groups leave the party on account of disagreement about the choice of leadership. That's the problem. On account of disagreement about the choice of leadership. Because the choice of leadership is not cast out clearly in the rules of a monolithic party. The choice of leadership is about the leader. He is the boss. He decides where to go. And when he's not there, it is total chaos because there has been no principles established. You saw that when Akufo-Addo was running for presidency in MPP, they said, and now you've seen break the 8 arguments for Bawumia and arguments for Alan, and they said it is Dombo, Dankwa, Buzia, Dombo tradition. Dankwa is equivalent to this, Buzia is that, and Dombo is that. The people are talking about it. People say that, okay, Alan Chemartin was not on the ballot Bawumia was not on the ballot in 2007, and so, yes, this, that. And all of those things are being discussed because they have a system, they have a principle. Look, this is the man who is going next. Monolithism doesn't have a room for that. Monolithism is about the boss. JJ says this. So the crisis of leadership is going to hit, especially when they're in opposition. Okay, so let's fast forward to John Mahama as president. So Professor Mills passes. The party doesn't make any decision about who leads the party. It is assumed automatically that John Mahama must lead the party. Some people didn't like it. They didn't submit John Mahama to the votes. They didn't put the vote there. Monolithic parties don't do that. They arrange it. So it was arranged in Kumasi, and John Mahama was endorsed as a leader. Still, some people were not happy. So John Mahama goes to election 2016, and no less a person than Flight Lieutenant J.J. Rollins, the owner of the party, the monolithic leader, says that I did not cast my ballot for John Mahama. He cast his ballots for Nana Konadu Rollins. You see, so it's beginning. Even in the lifetime of the main man begins to feel that the people have taken the party away from me. So John Mahama is the leader of the party. He goes into the 2016 election. He's defeated. He comes out. And now the constellations still begin. Should John Mahama run? His family says he's not running. Somebody says he's running. A lot of people present themselves against John Mahama. Sylvester Mensah, Joshua Labida. They all feel they should present themselves against John Mahama. Goes to the Congress, smashes everybody away. Everybody thinks John Mahama is the undisputed leader. Next week, we'll do the analysis of John Mahama and his future. Tuesday, watch out for that. But now, John Mahama is the leader. Going to the election, and John Mahama performs better than he did in the last election. John Mahama goes to court about losing the election. As soon as the court is over, some people are complaining here and there. He has Johnson Asiedu Ketia with him. Now comes the crisis period. So what is happening right now? Let's get back on the screen. Alhaji Haruna Iddrisu, our good friend from the Nooks, will give you his background. John Dramani Mahama and Alban Sumanu Kingsford Bagbin. This is where the conversation is. This is where the big conversation is about the NDC today. Okay, so Haruna Iddrisu is a young man. You know, he came from the Nooks and he came from the University of Ghana. He's articulate. He took a constituency that NDC didn't used to win. It belonged to the former Deputy Foreign Minister the former Deputy Foreign Minister Idris. He actually passed. In 2004, I was in Tamale working as a journalist, and I actually put in a word of campaign for Haruna Iddrisu of the NDC. I made that point publicly in Tamale that I attended one of his rallies in 2004 for Haruna Iddrisu because I knew him from Legon and I had confidence in his abilities. Okay, so Haruna Iddrisu is coming from that stock. He's coming from mobilization. He's very strong on those things. Students mobilization, mobilizing people. And he came and he became a very young man, Minister for Communication in Professor Mills's government. He is one of the pets of Kojo Chikata and some of the old guys of the NDC. He was actually recruited into the NDC by Mohammed Chambers. So you see where he's coming from. He's coming from the people who grounded the NDC's philosophy, Chambers, Tikata, those kinds of people. That's where Haruna Iddrisu is coming from. That's where he's being recruited from. Mobilization is a strength. So he believes that as Haruna Iddrisu, minority leader, he controls something. He's an epitome of the party. He's an epitome of the philosophy of the party. In fact, Haruna was one of the few people who defeated J.J. Rawlings in a National Youth Organizer contest. And that was sometime in the year 2000s. J.J. Rawlings had sponsored a member of parliament for the Odio Neil Ante-Vanderpoy to a National Youth contest. The leader of the youth of NDC, they call it National Youth Organizer. A contest was organized in Wa. And J.J. Rawlings had sponsored Neil Ante-Vanderpoy. Haruna Iddrisu defeated Neil Ante-Vanderpoy, and that's the first time people began to take Haruna very seriously. Because here was a candidate sponsored by the founder, the monolithic leader. And Haruna Iddrisu defeated him and won the election. During his address to Parliament in the first session, the first sessional address, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings Nana Akufo-Addo spoke about Haruna Iddrisu and congratulated him for ascending to the position of minority leader in the House in 2017. So given all that kind of situation, I'm not sure how old he is, but he's barely 50 or just over 50. Haruna Iddrisu believes that it's a controlling stake in the party. He's delivered Tamale South and his numbers keep increasing and his power of mobilization and his power of articulation is absolute. John Dramani Mahama. Now, he comes from a political home. His father was a member of the Nkrumah's government. So that gives him a right to any Nkrumah's party. He came in 1997. Now, he came on the back of the Mills people, the people who had started thinking about the post-Rollins era, the Fanti Confederacy, Totobi Kwachi, Kwame Nahoy, Ato Ahoy, Kwame Pepra, those kinds of people. Kwame Pepra is not a Fanti, but he's part of that group. Now, they were the people who were controlling affairs under Rawlings. Totobi Kwachi was national security, had done information for a long time. He became national security, very intelligent man, very solid guy, very generous man, I should say. Ato Ahoy has done power, energy, light off, that kind of thing. Ato Ahoy had been in charge of that. So they had been in charge of the pillars of the Republic under the Rawlings regime, with Rawlings as president and Justice D.F. Anande. P.V. Obin was their friend, but P.V. Obin placed to that side and he placed to the Mrs. Rawlings side as well. But he was their friend. And so they had brought in John Dramani Mahama because they were beginning to think about the future of the party. They were beginning to think about the post-Rollins era. What do we do with the post-Rollins era? And their competition was going to be Kojo Chikata. Yes, the competition was going to be the hardcore socialists. So the NDC has two groups of people. They have the conservatives, which is the right-wing people, John Mahama and Totobi Kwachi, and they're the right-wing people. And then you have the hardcore, the why is it so people, Kojo Chikata, Yen Yen, and those, Dr. Yao Graham, who has actually left that group of people. So that's what you have. Chachu Chikata straddles in between over there, but he's related to Kojo. So Iddrisu Haruna comes from Kojo Chikata. John Mahama comes from Totobi Kwachi. He's made Deputy Minister of Communication. His boss is Ambassador Spio Gabra. That's how John Mahama comes into the NDC, 1997. His boss is Ambassador Spio Gabra, okay? But because Totobi Kwachi is at national security and is controlling affairs and is controlling the important media, all of us were controlled by Totobi Kwachi. Rightly so. He's a good man. John Mahama is promoted in terms of exposure better than Spio Gabra by far. And John Mahama is beginning to attract attention in Parliament, not just on the floor of the House, but in terms of his media interviews. John Mahama will attend any interview at all, and he speaks so courteously, and he speaks different from the Jagoda Choboy communist NDC that we had known. The soldier, RSM Tete, let the blood flow kind of thing. John Mahama comes across as completely different from that. And all that is designed by Totobi Kwachi. And John Mahama fits the bill. He's a nice man, nice face. He speaks well. So that's how John Mahama comes in 1997. Deputy Minister of Communication. Before long, a cabinet reshuffle has been occasioned. Spio Gabra is taken out. John Mahama becomes the Minister of Communication. He's driving the government communication. Every Ghanaian who doesn't like NDC for the ethos of communism and socialism and choboiness and basabasaness, those Ghanaians like John Mahama. Because the people who sponsored John Mahama sociologically were thinking about the future. So that's why the NDC begins to shake like that. That's where it starts. It's not starting today. What Hon Ablakwa is doing is just feeding into it. So that's John Mahama. Enough said about him. So you can now understand how John Mahama becomes Professor Mills's running mate in 2008 and actually wins the election. Because The people who brought Mills are the same people who brought John Mahama. The people who brought Mills, they are not core socialists. No, they are not. They joined the revolution, but they are not core socialists. Totobi Kwache's father was conservative. They're not core socialists. And they are very intelligent. They joined the revolution. They brought Professor Mills. They didn't bring Guzitano. No. Guzitano is the Kojochikata side. They are the Haruna Iddrisu. They are the Kojochikata people. The people who brought Professor Mills are the Fanti Confederacy, who are not even socialists, in ideology, but they are part of the NDC, and they are controlling affairs. They bring John Mahama, they bring Mills. So you see the 2008 ticket, Mills-Mahama ticket, was thought about in 1997. That's politics. The ticket that you saw in 2008, which won the election away from Akufo-Addo, was thought about in 1997 when John Mahama came in. And at that time, Mills was vice president. That's when the ticket was made. In the 2000 election, these people knew that there was no way Professor Mills was going to win that election. They were aware. Spielgabra was put there to do the communication. They knew that the mood of the country was changing. They were aware that the mood of the country was changing. Professor Mills would not win the election, but they knew that they were keeping Mills for another time. They were clear about that. So the 2000 election went away. 2004 election came. They suspected that Kufuor would win. They knew that. But when 2008 arrived, they thought that this was the opportunity for Professor Mills. Kufuor had done 2 terms. He's going away. Akufo-Addo had won an election, rancorous election of 17 people. The demerits of the conservative people had come to play. And they were sure that this time, Professor Mills had a good chance of winning. So enter John Mahama as his running mate. Push the ticket and push the Rollins people away. Let us take over the party. So that's how John Mahama comes in. Running mate, vice president. Okay. And then eventually president, of course. Unfortunately, they didn't know that Mills was going to die. Nobody knew that. But unfortunately, Professor Mills passes, and then John Mahama takes over, and then he moves on. Okay. Alban Sumano Kingsford Bagbin. Now, who is Bagbin? Bagbin is one of those lawyers who had been a cadre from school. Cadre, core, revolutionary. Nice man. He has some conservative streaks, but he's a core revolutionary. He came in on the back of, he's with Guzitano. He used to work in the same law firm with Larry Ajete. So it's called the Law Trust firm. Before the Tony Lita firm became the main NDC law firm, that is Tony Lita with Marietta Brew, the former Attorney General, their law firm, before it became the main NDC firm under John Mahama, the NDC firm was called Law Trust. The NDC law firm was called Law Trust. Every NDC person, PV or being everybody, was represented by Law Trust. Law Trust was led by 3 people. Guzitano, Tretre Opoku, and Alban Sumano Kingsford Bagbin. These 3 men led the Law Trust firm. If you look at the 1992 Constitution, a lot of the articles that you see was looked at by Law Trust before it was put in. Now, Bagbin was part of that group, so he's part of that core group. He was in Parliament since 1992. Nadole, that's where he represents. So, Alban Bagbin sees himself as one of those who should naturally inherit the NDC situation. That's how he sees himself. He's been in Parliament for that long. He's made a lot of friends in here, there. But his core situation is that. So Alban Bagbin and Haruna Iddrisu are tied by an umbilical cord. You have to get that clearly. Alban Bagbin, Haruna Iddrisu are tied by an umbilical cord. That umbilical cord does not pass through John Mahama. No, it doesn't. John Mahama is elsewhere. So within the NDC, the monolithic NDC, Alban Bagbin and Haruna Iddrisu are tied. Nothing is going to change. Now Muntaka has been recruited into that line, so you're going to have that. They're going to exercise control, and they are not worried about John Mahama, and they're not looking at John Mahama. So what is happening now in the NDC is that, from the Kujeto Ablakwa thing, people who are on the John Mahama side are concerned about the Haruna Iddrisu leadership, because Haruna Iddrisu leadership also means Bagbin's leadership, and they have the power in Parliament so far. That leadership also means a certain direction for the party. That's clear. The leadership between the 2 men means a certain direction of the party. The John Mahama people, and John Mahama has recruited people like him, young men, dynamic, intelligent, Mane Boama, Stan Dogbe, Felix Ofosu Kwache, that are the John Mahama people. Sam George, that are the Mahama people. Now, they are excited that John Mahama has had a full grip of the party today. But John Mahama may win the presidential ticket for the NDC if he wants to run. That's for next week. But is he going to get the support of these people? Are they looking for a direction away from the party? So what has happened now is that people are going to try to, John Mahama people are going to try to occasion a leadership challenge in Parliament so that Haruna Iddrisu's leadership is threatened. They're going to probably fix a vote for the NDC to vote their leader. But if they do that, 137 over 137, Haruna Iddrisu is going to win. Unless they do something else, and if they do something else, we'll come and tell you. But if that vote is taken today, Haruna Iddrisu is going to win. If that vote is not taken, Haruna Iddrisu will continue to lead the NDC, and the John Mahama people are not sure, given all what has happened, whether Haruna Iddrisu's leadership of the NDC will portend well for them, whether it will augur well for them, for the John Mahama leadership for the 2024 election. They are not too sure. The John Mahama people are not too sure. The hardcore John Mahama people think that take Haruna out, have a new leader in parliament, because when a party is in opposition, the de facto leader is the minority leader. When you're a party and you're in opposition, the de facto leader is the minority leader. Are you going to have Haruna Iddrisu as your de facto leader between now and then? That's the question. That's all of us political analysts are going to be looking at it. So I'd like to end the analysis here and continue next week. But this is what it is. So Haruna Iddrisu is going to stand firm. And you saw that in his press statement, he started by saying, I'm Haruna Iddrisu. I am the leader of the NDC in parliament. He's emphasizing the position. And he's telling anyone who wants to throw a vote at him that if you bring the vote, you're going to be defeated. You're going to be embarrassed. Alban Sumano Kingsford Bagbin is not going to, the way he's smiling here is the same way he's smiling about this matter. He's not going to say anything about this, but he's supporting Haruna Iddrisu. There's no doubt about it. Sumano Kingsford Bagbin, the way he's smiling here, the Right Honorable Speaker, is supporting Haruna Iddrisu. If there's a contest, he's going to back Haruna Iddrisu. That's our analysis. That's what we are sure about. He's going to back Haruna Iddrisu. So John Mahama is going to spend the Easter thinking through the future. And some of the voices around him are going to say, look, Mr. President, let's go and take Haruna Iddrisu out. Some people are going to say that, no, let's leave him there. But could you ever convert Haruna Iddrisu to a John Mahama supporter? There are two names I haven't mentioned. Kwesi Ahoy. Watch out for that. Kwesi Ahoy. Watch out for that name. The race is getting, Guzi Tano is coming in. So all the points I've been making now is that when you have a monolithic party and JJ is gone, you're going to have all of these constellations. You're going to have, that's why I gave you the history of the monolithic party up to this point. I'm being told that I've done too much time. I'll take a break here and then we'll continue on Tuesday. But this is our editorial.